All right, both. Thank you very much for joining me and taking the time to speak a little bit more about Hidealoo in depth. So, Hidealoo is British Design Fund Board's latest deployment. Why don't we kick it off by the two of you introducing yourselves and telling us a bit about you?
Hi, well, my name's Monty Ravenscroft, and I'm the founder and inventor, I guess, of the Hidealoo. But very key to our team is my partner, colleague.
I'm Rob Pumfrey, and I'm managing director. So Monty is the brains behind the design and the invention, and I've been brought on by the chairman, Matthew Hooper, who's an early investor in Monty's business, in order to help bring the Hidealoo business to market. And we've been working together for just over a year, 18 months. I've been working with Monty for 18 months or so in order to help identify the manufacturing process and bring it to market and initiate this investment from BDF, which is great to have them on board.
Yeah, and then obviously we here at the Design Fund really like the origin story of this particular product. So do you want to tell us about how you managed to spot the opportunity in the market and why you started Hidealoo?
Yes, I mean, I built a house a few years ago now, which made maximum use of the space it had in London, and it was in fact televised on Grand Designs, where it's apparently now been seen by more than 100 million people. But in that house, I did lots of revolutionary ideas to try and make best use of space, as I say. And during that phase, my father also got ill. I mean, about I don't know, 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago, and he had to stay at home. He was an invalid, stuck in bed, and couldn't get out to do the necessary ablutions every day. So I was coming up with more and more inventions on the back of my design on the house in London for my father as well, which in the end was all about giving him more dignity, as one can have anyway when you're an invalid or bedridden. And we wanted him to have easy access to a toilet in the room that wasn't just sitting in the room. We didn't want him on bedpans. We didn't want him on commodes because they're all pretty hideous things. And that was what really drove the idea to have a toilet in the room with him, but that folded away. You couldn't see it. And in fact, it went under the bed so that his bed was slightly elevated anyway, so people could help him with the nursing care. But underneath all that was all his other stuff that can't be seen until he needed it. So they would then swivel out and he would do his business and we'd get back into bed again. And it was that which what really drove the invention of this thing. They do say that necessity is the mother of all invention. And in that instance, it really was. I had done other ideas of moving things around, but I hadn't done the toilet at that point. It was my dad's ill health that really drove that into life.
And in terms of the broader team, have you got anyone else on board or anyone else that worked with the design?
We have the world-renowned Sebastian Conran as part of our design team, and he's really put me through my paces. I'd done the original concept design before he came on board, and I had sort of working prototypes. And he came along and sort of took the design to bits of me, and we looked at it more acutely and tried to work out how we could save weight and make it more efficient and make it look more interesting and make it work better. And so he's been a key part of the design process. And then we've got various engineers I've worked with over the years in my other design business to help refine the structure of the unit and pare back to the essentials, really. We also have a graphics whiz who does lots of film special effects, and he's been doing lots of our graphics and our images and our modeling and all that side of it. So we get in when we have a new idea, basically, we can get him to model it along with the engineers at the same time. So we have a full scale, as it were, in virtual reality, 3D model, which we can spin around, have a look at, and everyone can comment, everyone can see it. And then we go out and try and build one and see how well it works. We put various different prototypes on a test rig, and I've had them working in and out with motors. So one of them's now run for over 250,000 cycles to make sure that we don't get wear, or what wear we do get, we can manage, which we think is probably 45 to 50 years of use. So well in excess of what we need to be. And we tested that for the wear and tear of the mechanism, wear and tear of the locks, wear and tear on the flexible pipes, and all the sealing that goes in with that. So hopefully we're now ready to really get this thing launched and into sort of proper marketing and promotions campaign.
And another member of the team, two others to mention. One of the directors is a corporate finance lawyer, so he sort of acts as our company secretary, as it were, managing all that side of the business. And Matthew Hooper, I mentioned earlier, He's a serial entrepreneur, big investor into sales and marketing agencies, had his own businesses, built them up, sold them, and invested in others. So he's there as a guide and a voice and experience on the whole sales and marketing side as well. So that sort of circles up the team, as it were.
And then you mentioned in terms of sort of key challenges on the way that there was some confusion about how to certify the device. Do you want to talk about that in a little bit of detail?
Well, I suppose yes. Any sort of mechanism or contraption, it's an old word, or technology has to be certified to certain standards, and bathroom products are no different. And the Hidealoo mechanism itself is a strange one because it sits between two items that would ordinarily be certified. So the mechanism itself, you attach a wall-hung toilet pan to it, or loo pan, and the loo pan itself, the toilet the ceramic item itself is certified. And what normally you'd have if that was attached to a wall would be a cistern feeding in the water from the other side, which would also be certified. But the Hidealoo mechanism itself sits in between the two, and there is no certification system for that. So it's been a long, hard process trying to identify with certification bodies where it sits, what can be applied to it. So we've gone through that process, and we're still going through it in some territories, but that's been quite a challenge to make people actually sit up and think, this is where it sits, or this is where it doesn't sit, and then work that whole process through.
We ended up assuming that it would be rated as if a normal wall-hung loo pan, and therefore whatever the code exists to regulate how that is suspended on the wall is what we've applied to our kit. So in fact, we've now loaded a ceramic pan bolted to the Hidealoo with 400 kilos to see what would happen. And I was very much expecting the ceramic pan to break, but nothing broke. So we thought, okay, well, that's good. And it's been engineered for that, to make sure that it's safe and so on. And then, of course, the fact that it moves is there's no regulation for the movement of a toilet to date. So we've assumed that if we go way in excess of what people would think is a conventional lifespan for their loo pan, it will conform. Our 250,000 cycles is, we think, 40 or 50 years worth of use. But also the wearing parts on there are very accessible. So if we really had to start replacing them in 15 or 20 years' time, they can be done by a plumber. The main one would be the pipe. People will mostly worry about whether it's going to leak or not. And so we've tested the pipes backwards, forwards, sideways. We put them in kilns and heated out to 70 degrees. We've now got the oldest pipe now is 4 or 5 years old and is showing no signs of aging. And so we believe that to be a very serviceable part if it needs it at all. It's there again, quite a bit of the design is derived from the automotive industry. So we've used very robust design techniques used by, as I say, automation and vehicles, and applied it to this swivel system for the Hidealoo. And that hopefully means that the robust nature of the world that those elements live in is very, very softly copied, as it were, by that of a house. The house environment is very benign. It's normally between, I don't know, 10 degrees and 25 degrees, and it's out of direct sunlight and so on. All these things that might affect our kit will have no effect. But I think the key challenge is going to be much more about persuading people to accept the fact that their loo, which has been static for 400 years, can now start moving and really help them to maximize space. And that will be quite a thing to do, partly also because, of course, when people use the loo, it's their most vulnerable moment. It's the time they want to feel the most secure. And if they feel that the loo they're sitting on can just disappear, they'll not have the confidence. And that will be the challenge for us, is to persuade people that it's fine, it's safe, it's all these things. Just treat it like a normal wall-hung pan that you can fold away, which, of course, if you're in a shower situation, is perfect, because then the space that was there for the loo is now been given over to the shower, and so on.
Thank you very much for joining me and for giving me the time. For anyone that wants to visualize this product, absolutely head over to the Hidealoo website. It's just hidealoo.com. As I understand, they've got some great rendered images and then practical applications of the mechanism. But otherwise, we're really excited to have you on board, and we're really looking forward to working with you both in the near and far future, hopefully.